Today we're talking about how our fast-paced world has made empathy fade. To rediscover compassion, discernment and authenticity, we're looking to Stoicism. We talk about how lies, manipulation and controlling behavior reflect our own inner battle. We don't just want to expose things, we want to help people learn and change themselves. We argue that our true essence is not technology, but the ability to connect with each other as people. We want you to stay with us until the end, as we talk about how to get back to understanding each other, face our facts, and grow our freedoms. This is not just a call to watch, it's also a call to change. Lack of empathy. In a world that moves at light speed and links us in ways we couldn't have imagined before, empathy seems to be lost in the blink of an eye. But why does this basic human trait seem to be less common in relationships today? Stoicism, a theory that goes back hundreds of years, tells us to look beyond ourselves and realize that everyone has their own set of problems and successes. Take a moment to think about what it would be like to live a day in someone else's shoes and truly understand their pain, joy, and problems. This is what Stoicism means when it talks about kindness and respecting each other. In a time when I seems to be more important than we, admitting that we can't put ourselves in someone else's shoes is a flaw, not our own, but someone else's is a brave step toward making relationships better and communities stronger. The trip isn't easy, but it's still something you should do. In the end, a society's real strength is not how far it can go in terms of technology, but how well it can keep being human. People's relationships are like a maze, and influence is like a dark path full of traps that can take people off track from their own goals. It's a game of shadows where people hide their true goals and plan their moves to trick others, often without leaving any signs of their sneaky presence. But how can I get through these dangerous seas without getting lost? Stoicism, which comes from the idea of seeking truthfulness and inner freedom, can help you find your way. This old school of thought tells us to build a shield of judgment. We learn to look past what we see and to question the motives behind other people's words and actions. Stoicism teaches us that real freedom comes from inside, from being emotionally independent in a way that lets us make choices that are in line with our inner values instead of what other people want. But how can we make this judgment stronger? It starts with learning to listen, not just to what is said, but also to how it is said and what isn't said. Paying attention to your own feelings and noticing when something doesn't seem right are all parts of it. Most importantly, it means having the courage to question and seek the truth, even when it's not handy. When people choose the path of Stoicism, they are choosing real freedom over fake freedom in a world that often values look over substance. Falsehood. In a world where the truth is often hidden, telling many lies slowly breaks down the trust that holds people together. Stoicism's old light shows us the way to be honest and trustworthy, telling us to value truth more than anything else. We are encouraged to be honest in our daily lives and to stay strong even when dishonesty tries to bring us down. On this path, it's not enough to just tell the truth. We also need to set clear limits with people who try to trick us, protect our mental space, and keep real relationships going. When we look at the urge to control, we see a sign of human fear and an empty attempt to keep the chaos of relationships under control. This kind of behavior not only shows a serious lack of trust, but it also goes against the ideas of mutual respect and personal freedom. Stoicism, with its timeless knowledge, teaches us to value our own freedom, to care for our independence, and to set healthy limits against attempts to control us. It helps us build the inner strength we need to deal with these controlling behaviors creating a space where people respect and value freedom. Relations that don't work out. Looking back at a picture of bad relationships can be like looking in a mirror. It can show us not only our past, but also parts of ourselves that may need care and attention. This string of bad relationships is not just a coincidence. It points to a deep chance to learn about how we interact with others and handle disagreements. Stoicism is an old philosophy that tells us to be good people and try to get along with others. It encourages us to think about ourselves, to understand and improve how we deal with others. We are told to look at ourselves through this lens and think about not only how we react to other people, but also how we affect the way these relationships work. This self-reflection activity isn't meant to find flaws. It's meant to show ways to make links that are healthier and last longer. Stoicism teaches us to see every connection as a chance to practice empathy, open communication, and mutual respect, all of which are important for keeping society strong and peaceful. Aggression. Dealing with aggression, whether it comes in the form of mean words or sudden actions, is a real task. Stoic ideas about fairness, peace, and respect show us that reacting in kind is not the right thing to do. Stoicism says that when someone is being mean, you should stay cool and set clear limits, showing that respect is the most important thing. The point is not to get into a fight, but to figure out why people are being so mean. It could be trying to hide some anger or pain. To deal with this, you should be firm but fair, showing that everyone has their own space and boundaries. This keeps the peace and gives the other person a chance to think. Aggression is often a disguised cry for help. So the Stoic way tells us not to fight back, but to find real answers that solve the problem while always treating the other person with respect. Lack of responsibility. If someone doesn't take responsibility for their deeds, it means they aren't fully grown or honest yet. With its view on life, Stoicism puts personal duty at the center of how we grow as people. In both good and bad times, we need to take responsibility for what we do in order to grow as people and make society more fair and peaceful. It's not enough to say you were wrong. You need to learn from them and get better next time. This way of thinking tells us that everything we do is connected, and that keeping the peace and order in society starts with each of us. Being accountable not only makes us stronger as people and as people who we interact with, but it also gives us power by showing that we are in charge of our lives and the decisions we make. Depending only on surface-level charm, the kind that gets people's attention but doesn't really mean anything, is like building a house without a base. It may look good at first, but it doesn't last. Stoicism is an old way of thinking that still speaks loudly to us today. It tells us to value who we are inside, not what we look like. Being honest and true to ourselves is what makes relationships real and worth having. First impressions are important, but they're not everything. There is a lot more that goes into the relationships that last and help us through good and bad times. Their foundation is trust, honesty, and love for each other. We should be honest and show who we really are, and we should look for people who do the same. This is how we build strong ties that aren't just for show, but for real life. Pressure to move relationships along quickly. Pushing a relationship along faster than it should often means that something is wrong, like a need for control or a heavy reliance on the other person emotionally. One of the most timeless lessons in Stoicism is the worth of being patient and giving things time. Real relationships aren't made quickly. They're made by letting each other grow naturally and calmly, understanding each other. We may want to rush things because we are anxious or because we need someone else to fill up the empty spaces inside us. Stoicism, on the other hand, tells us that the best way to connect with other people is to think about it, really understand it, and be patient. We should all wait for things to grow naturally and respect each other's time so that we can build something that lasts and makes sense when we work together. Crossing or ignoring your boundaries. When someone does this, it's not only a sign of lack of respect, but also an attempt to control. Stoicism, which always leads us to knowledge, tells us how important it is to be free and set limits that are good for our mental and emotional health. These limits are like an unseen wall that keeps us safe and lets us connect with others in a healthy way. Personal limits must be respected for a relationship to be respectful to both people. When our limits are crossed, we need to stand up and say them again, showing that our honesty is important to us. Stoicism tells us to be strong but fair, and to build relationships based on genuine respect, where everyone knows and values the other person's space. It serves as a reminder that if we want to make real connections, we need to honor both our own and others' limits. When stories don't make sense, picture going along a path in a thick forest. The path seems to change every step. You see a bridge one moment, and then a raging river comes in its place. In the same way that stories change over time, this trail has parts that don't always make sense. It makes us think, am I going in the right direction? Stoicism is an old theory that still speaks to us today. It tells us to be like explorers in this forest, looking for truth among the dishonest trees and paths that move with the wind. It shows us how to use our own senses, or discernment, to keep us from getting lost in the forest of lies. When there are contradictions, our honesty acts as a north star at night, keeping us on track even when stories change shape like clouds in the sky. We are told to ask questions and look for the core, or real nature, of things. Not just to listen, but to listen carefully, able to tell the difference between what is true and what is false, what lasts and what fades. Being honest becomes our best friend on this path, and it helps us improve our relationships and our own peace of mind. We build a foundation of trust and respect, not only for ourselves, but also for those we share our journey with, by being wise and honest. This is how we can keep our balance and keep going, even when things change and don't make sense, by following the light of truth and honesty. Society is a complicated system based on rules and laws that keep things running smoothly and protect everyone's health. If people choose to break these rules, they are only thinking about themselves and not how their actions will affect the group. This behavior is not only self-centered, but it could also be harmful, putting at risk the peace and security we value. Stoicism, a way of thinking that values fairness, respect for others, and working for the greater good, teaches us to value and follow the rules that society sets. This old theory tells us to think about how our actions affect other people and the world around us. This helps people live together peacefully and effectively. It's not just the right thing to do to follow the rules. It's also a sign that you value living in a community where everyone can succeed. It means putting the needs of the group ahead of your own, and always trying to act in ways that promote social order and unity. This point of view is good for everyone, and it also helps us create good personal traits like honesty, empathy, and responsibility. We can help make the world a more fair and just place where everyone can grow and add to the common good by living by these principles. Breaking the links between us and our support network is a tool that people who want to control or manipulate us often use. This behavior not only hurts our mental health, but it also takes away our freedom, which is an important part of our life. Stoicism, on the other hand, places a high value on people's freedom, helping each other and living together peacefully. This concept teaches us to be strong and independent, but it also shows us how important it is to connect with other people. People don't see this link as a dependency, but as a sign of our shared humanity and a social fabric that makes us stronger when life gets hard. Stoicism tells us to protect our independence and mental health when someone tries to isolate us. It makes us think about how strong it is to be part of a group, help each other, and be able to ask for help when we need it. We are told not to give up and become lonely, but to improve our relationships and build bridges that keep us connected to those who care about and support us. It's like seeing someone else's image in a mirror when you project. By giving other people feelings or traits that are really our own, we avoid facing our own flaws. It's a way to protect ourselves because we don't want to look inside and face what's really there. Stoicism, which is like a map for the mind, points us in the wrong way. This old philosophy shows us how important it is to know ourselves, be honest with ourselves, and take responsibility for our actions. It tells us to look deep inside ourselves, see our flaws and shadows, and deal with them in a healthy and productive way. Stoicism tells us to take responsibility for our own lives instead of blaming others for our flaws and mistakes. It helps us remember that real power comes from being honest with ourselves, accepting our flaws, and working to get rid of them. Instead of blaming others, we should offer a hand, first to ourselves and then to others. When we believe in this theory, we don't have to hide our flaws by blaming other people for them. We learn that the best way to get better and grow as a person is to face our inner problems with honesty and bravery. So, Stoicism isn't just about dealing with problems from the outside. It's also about winning fights inside ourselves and using our flaws to grow. Mood swings that come on quickly can be very scary for both the person experiencing them and everyone around them. You know how sometimes you wake up feeling great and then something small throws you for a loop? That's the crazy ride of feelings we're talking about. But what if I told you there's an old ride that will make you feel better instead? Yes, I'm talking about Stoicism, a theory that is useful right now as well as in old books. To understand Stoicism, picture a friend who is calm and wise and can stay calm even when there is a heavy storm outside. To understand our feelings, and most importantly, not let them control us, it teaches us to look inside ourselves. Stoicism gives us the power to control our emotions with calm and knowledge, rather than letting our mood swings control us like robots. What's the secret? The key is to feel all of our feelings, but not let them define who we are. Being neutral or cold doesn't mean this. Instead, it means finding the right balance so that we can feel sad, happy, angry, and joyful without letting any of these feelings take over our lives. So let's stop seeing our feelings as problems and start seeing them as chances to grow. Remember that being able to say, "I am the master of my emotions," is both the hardest thing we can do and the best thing we can achieve. Before we move on, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us a lot and costs you nothing. Never miss out on any of our videos about Stoicism and the way you can master your life. Being victims all the time, we come across many obstacles and turns on our way. Sometimes in life, things happen that test us and make us wonder how strong we really are. In this situation, we have to make a big decision that will affect the rest of our lives. Should we be the hero or the victim? Constant victimization, this trap that looks like security, might seem like a safe place to go. After all, it's easy to blame other people and events for the problems we have. But this turns into a plan that holds us back and limits our ability to change and grow. Stoic philosophy shows us how important it is to be brave, take responsibility for our actions, and be able to get through hard times. It asks us to look at ourselves, see our strengths and flaws, and stop being victims of our circumstances and start making our own futures. To be strong in life, you have to see problems as chances to grow as a person. It means realizing that we can't change everything that happens to us, but we can choose how to deal with it. Being brave means taking charge of our journey and turning problems into steps that will help us become the best versions of ourselves. I don't care about your needs. In a world that seems to be spinning faster and faster, it's easy to get caught up in our own needs and forget to look around. In all of these events and duties, it's easy to forget about one of the most important things about being human: sensitivity. It's not enough to just forget about other people's wants. It's a selfish relationship dynamic that pushes us apart. Stoicism, which has been around for thousands of years, is a strong reminder of how important it is to care about others, do what's right, and respect each other. Not only does this theory teach us to be strong when things go wrong, it also encourages us to build relationships based on mutual support and understanding. After all, each person we meet along the way has their own problems, hopes, and wants. To show empathy, we have to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and see their needs not as a burden, but as a chance to improve our relationships and make our community stronger and more helpful. This means we have to listen carefully, offer our support, and sometimes give up our own comforts for the sake of others' health. Every day, we can improve ourselves and our communities by taking a stand of empathy and justice in our relationships. By practicing empathy, we become aware of how valuable each person is on their own and how important it is to meet each other's needs. By doing this, we not only make our own lives better, but we also help build a world where respecting and helping each other are basic human rights. As a result, don't just admire humanity, justice, and mutual respect. Make them a part of your everyday life. We can make relationships deeper and more meaningful, and also make society more fair and caring if we think about the wants of others before our own. Too much need for admiration. Imagine a world where every like and praise is the most important thing for our self-esteem. We get lost in the maze of other people's demands and forget who we really are as we keep looking for approval from them. What if we could change that story, though? Stoicism, with its timeless knowledge, gives us another way to live. This old teaching tells us that real value comes from within, not from outside sources. Instead of basing our happiness on what other people think, Stoicism tells us to look inside ourselves and build a strong sense of self-worth. Building this inner fortress makes us less reliant on praise from other people. No, praises are still nice, but they don't make us who we are. When we learn to value our own worth without the praise and attention, we are truly free. We learn through this process that the most important approval is the one that comes from inside. Stoicism's real power lies in its ability to help us find peace and happiness in who we are, not in how we look. So why not start this journey to find out more about yourself right now? In this day and age, it's hard to tell the difference between public and private. With just a click, doors that should stay closed can be opened. This invasion of privacy, this attempt to control that looks like curiosity, is a clear violation of a person's respect. What does Stoicism say about this, though? Stoicism, which stresses individuality and worth, makes us think of how important trust and respect are. It is not only rude to invade someone's privacy, but it also takes away their right to own their own life. Someone is trying to take over a place that shouldn't be touched because it's where our inner thoughts and feelings are kept. So, respecting someone's privacy is more than just being polite. It means recognizing that they are a separate person with their own rights and feelings. It's realizing that honesty and mutual respect are what make relationships strong. These are the building blocks of trust that let relationships grow on a bed of understanding and sensitivity. By building partnerships on these values, we're not only keeping everyone's space safe, but also making a place where everyone feels safe, respected, and valued. In this way, Stoicism makes us think about how important every action and decision is, which supports the idea that true harmony happens when we treat other people's boundaries with the same care we would give our own. This reminds us of how Stoicism can help us be more empathetic and real,